Hi there, and welcome back to our weekly chats with David Jackson of Nottingham. How are you, David?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Great. Second one in our video blogs that we're doing, and today we're going to have a look a bit more at Nottingham Rugby Club and how it's changed over the last few years and where it's going. So, first of all, thanks for doing this again, David. How are things with you anyway?
What's that, sorry?
How are things with you at your end?
Yeah, no, pretty good. I played my first game back after injury against Plymouth at the weekend, so it was good to get through a whole game, and we got a rare win down at Plymouth, which was a very tight game and tough conditions, but a good win for us down there on the back of we've had to play 4 games in 2 weeks because the games that got called off during all the frost and snow. So we've had a lot of games recently that we've managed to win 3 of those games so far, and then we've got the final game for the playoffs against Bedford tomorrow on Saturday.
Right. Yeah, so one of the things I wanted to talk to you about today was about Nottingham and the financial difficulties that it used to have and how it's more on an even foot. There was a fantastic article by a guy called Owen Phillips at the BBC, and he just wrote about the troubles that had happened in the past a couple of years ago, where you were going through some real financial difficulties at the club. I just really wanted to get your experiences of what it was like being at the club at that time, and you know what the differences are now, and how much more enjoyable it might be.
I don't think enjoyment-wise, nothing sort of really changed. It was a bit of a shock when we got told that we were in financial difficulties. We knew we'd never been like a wealthy club or anything like that, but we didn't. I don't think as players we realised until we got told how bad it was, and that I can't remember the amount of money that had to be raised before the end of the season, but we could have been in trouble of sort of having to fold as a club. So that was a message that sort of went out within the community and the rugby community, and everyone sort of pulled together, and there was a lot of fundraising going on. The fans at Nottingham were fantastic in doing all sorts of stuff. They put like fundraising teams together, and you know, the city got behind us and raised the money that we needed to stay afloat. And you know, we'd always had we had a good team at the time, like we have done over the last few years, and once we got financially stable, it meant that we could plan a bit more for the future. So Glenn, the director, was able to you know, sign guys on longer term contracts, like 2-year contracts, with, you know, being able to plan for the future. So that sort of made a real big difference now since we've had the new owners come in. And so we've got that sort of stability and able to look to the future and build to the future. And it's meant this year that we've had a bigger squad than we've ever had. Like I said, last 2 weeks we've been playing games at the weekend and midweek. We've been able to rotate guys around this year, whereas last year when we had the same problem, we didn't have this big enough squad to be able to rotate like a whole team. We were only able to change a few players around, and you know, fatigue became a problem for us building into the playoffs, whereas we want the guys to be as fresh as possible, which is something that we've been able to build on and build to at this current time.
And obviously, you know, as you say, it has an impact on the actual team and the way that you rotate, and I'm guessing it gives you a bit more confidence that if you were to go up, that you know you've got that bigger squad as well, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if we were to go up there, there'd have to be a lot further things put in place, but we're sort of and squad-wise, I imagine that we would continue to bring guys in as well. But you know, at the moment we've got a squad that I think we're happy with, and we think that we can give it a real good push this year in the playoffs. As we know from previous years, the results are going to be so close, and it's going to be just small little things are going to make the difference between those group games and then moving on into the semis and final. If we're lucky enough to get there, then you know, just those 6 group games. So the 6 group games that you have, it's almost like everything starts again, and it's a real battle for 6 weeks, and hopefully we can come out with a place and push for a semi-final spot.
So,
then sort of take it from there.
so obviously this week you're facing Bedford at the Brickfields, and you're already in the playoffs quite comfortably. Is it harder to get motivated to, face a team like Bedford when there isn't as much at stake, so to speak, or are you still playing for your place when it comes to the playoffs?
No, like I said, well, because, like I said, the size of the squad we've got, we are playing for places. So for us, that's almost sort of one of the main. Well, there's a few things. That's sort of that's one aspect of it. It's important to be taking good form into the playoffs, just for confidence-wise for the squad and things. So that's another motivating factor, and as well, where you finish in the league will depend on how many points you start in the playoff group with. So first and second start their playoff with 3 points, third and fourth with 2, and then 5, 6, 1, 7, 8, 0. So it makes a difference. At the moment, Bedford I think a joint second on points difference, and so for them, coming second rather than third does make a big difference. So they've got a lot to play for themselves. And really, I think whenever you step out on the field, rugby it's a battle game, and you can't go onto a field half-hearted, otherwise you're gonna be made to look stupid. So pride is one thing that you're playing for every week, regardless of the result. And I think the fact that we've got a lot of guys playing for their positions and being some guys given a chance over the last couple of weeks, it's about performing well and putting your hand up and saying to the coaches from your performance, like, there's a reason why I should be in the team. So I'd probably say there's a huge amount. Like some people might look at it from the outside and say there's not a huge amount to play for, but for us, I think there really is some big things to play for.
And what about yourself, David? It must be great to be back into the team after a bit of a layoff. And how does it feel to get back out there?
It was great. It was finally. I've had probably 2 years ago, I broke my foot and had 3 months out, and so it's a similar sort of time. It's between 3 and 4 months I was out with my shoulder. Been in training for a few weeks, and those games have got called off during all the bad weather, and that meant that I got extra time to get fully ready and comfortable with, and all the contact that comes with playing in the game. So it was just good to get out there. It wasn't because of the weather conditions. It wasn't a massive spectacle of running rugby, unfortunately. So I wasn't involved that much. But it was good to be out there, feel part of it again, and at least do what you can when you're on the pitch. And it was obviously, like I said, nice to get a win. It doesn't happen very often down in Plymouth. They're a good team, and they play very well at home.
Well, good luck with the game anyway. Hopefully you'll put one over on Bedford, and it'll give you a bit more confidence going into the playoffs. So we'll catch up on how you did in the next few weeks, and how you're getting on in the playoffs. But I suppose just to finish off today, we'll ask you a question that was submitted on the forum, and please do remember, everyone who's listening to this, that if you want to ask David a question, you can do so on the 606 forum. So just log on and ask. And the question that we wanted to put to you today was about the rules in the game. Now, obviously, being on the wing, that some of the breakdown rules may not be as important as if you're playing in the front row. But if you could change any one rule within rugby, what would it be?
I could change any one rule. It's a tough one. I think it's obviously, like you say, from a winger's point of view or a fullback's point of view, or someone that likes to run with the ball, being able to have those opportunities more and more is what I enjoy doing and what I enjoy watching. So, like, anything that can help the game be more expansive, I think it helps. But how you go about doing those and changing those rules, and sometimes it's quite interesting that rule changes come in to try and help with sort of running rugby or that sort of thing, but the implications of changing a rule sort of mean another thing happens, and I don't unless you want me to pinpoint one specific rule I think would be quite difficult.
So what you're saying is, on balance, they pretty much got it right at the moment without having to make wholesale changes.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of something. Anything that really annoys me. The one thing I was talking about the other day with somebody was when someone kicks the ball, say, on the ground, and a player dives on the ball. The other opposition have to let you get up. They can't just jump on top of you. What seems to happen is that's in one situation. If the same thing happens, if the ball spills out of a ruck and someone dives over onto the ball, they seem to get penalised for going off the feet. That was one thing I couldn't understand, which maybe that shows my inability as the laws of rugby. But I couldn't say there's a rule that I particularly would want to change.
Okay, great. Well, right, yeah. So, thanks for that answer on the rule change one. As I said to you, we're talking to Nigel Owens, the Welsh ref, over the next couple of weeks, so we can try and get him to clear that one up for you and get you an answer. And as I said, if anyone out there who's watching this video wants to actually submit a question to David, whether it be about Nottingham rugby, about rugby in general, please do so. I'm sure he'll be happy to answer it. Right, well, thanks for your time again, David. It's been a good chat. Good luck in the game tomorrow. If anybody wants to go along, it's down at the Brickfields in Bedford at 2 PM, is that right?
2 PM, yeah.
Yep, and you'll be able to see the man himself running back and forth. Hopefully you'll get on the score sheet this time.
Well, we'll see.
And if not, enjoy the weekend, and if you get a chance to obviously watch the rugby as well, the Six Nations, I hope you enjoy that as well. So have a good weekend, David, and we'll catch up in the next few weeks.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.